Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of SDN10CITY Fantasy Football. I'm Mark, and as always, behind the camera and running the controls, we have the lovely Stella. Thought we'd start off the show today by recapping my team in week 6. This was an especially significant week for me as I had a bunch of bench players starting, and I didn't know how things were going to work out for me. It was pretty scary. I have most of the Seahawks. I've got Tyler Lockett. I've got DK Metcalf. I've got Chris Carson. I had Josh Jacobs. I had Hunter Henry. All of those guys on a on a bye in week 6. Man, it was terrible. But I did make another video, and I did mention some folks, and it just happened to work out swimmingly for me this week. We talked about Keelan Cole already. He came up with 20 big points. We talked about Travis Fulgham. He came up with 19 and a half points against a Baltimore defense that's pretty doggone good, too. Christian Kirk, he came up pretty huge for me. He had that 80-yard touchdown reception last night versus the Dallas Cowboys. 22 and a half big points for me in PPR. It was pretty exciting. I ended up with the high score of the week with 153 points. And now I get all my starters back. So I'm 6-0 on the year with 959 total points. And I don't believe I've ever won 6 in a row to start a season. It's very exciting for me, and I'm hoping in week 7 that we can keep it going. I do have an injury, Dalvin Cook. He's injured, but also on a bye week, and I think that the person that I'm going to plug in, we're going to talk about him a little later on in the show and my reasons why that I'm going to use that individual this week. So now that we've gotten the recap out of the way, let's talk about some of the top performers for last week. We had Derrick Henry with 41 points in PPR. That guy is an absolute monster.
Stiff arm.
Yep, absolutely. There were some other people around too. There was Ryan Tannehill, 31 points in PPR. He had a very nice week. And then the people that I had mentioned before, those guys are absolute surprises. We had Christian Kirk in there. We already covered those guys. Fulgham, Keelan Cole. My advice to you guys would be so this is what I see. Everybody likes to do their little research for the draft. Everybody comes up with these draft boards, and I know it looks good and it's a very sexy thing to do. But here's the thing, guys. During the season, once the season gets going, it's the game and team management that becomes critical. And that's where I see a lot of fantasy managers going wrong, is they don't manage their team well. There was a team this week, they left Justin Jefferson on the bench. He had, I think, 39 and a half points in PPR. Those points are wasted and just left on the bench. And also that team had lost this week too. Had they started Justin Jefferson, if they would have done their research and managed the team properly, I mean, those are wins and losses. You just can't throw those opportunities away. There's only 13 weeks in the season, so every week counts. You got to make every draft pick count. You have to make every game count. You just can't give up. I could have easily given up on this week because I had all of my bench on, but I drafted those guys for a reason, and it happened to just work out that in week 6 they had wonderful weeks for me. So my advice to you guys is to read. You always have to do your research and keep reading. Read as much as you can. There's these little obscure articles that come out on, I call it CBS Sportsline. I'm old school, so back in the day it used to be called CBS Sportsline when the internet first was around and all that. So I still call it that, but yeah. CBS Sports, they do a lot with the AFC. Sorry, y'all, that's my dog. She loves to play squeaky toys when I record. But read. So these little articles come out, and oftentimes what they do is they have little tidbits of information that's very valuable for us fantasy managers to use. They have little tidbits like, such and such quarterback has really synced up with this receiver. And you need those kinds of information, because if you're stuck in the middle of trying to figure out like who should I start, who should I not start, it can mean the difference between a win and a loss for you. And so I would encourage you, read, read, read. I am constantly reading all week articles going on Sporting News and ESPN, CBS Sportsline. Another great resource too that you guys might not know is Our Lads. Our Lads, that's more for the draft, where you can get some draft news. But those guys, the gentleman's name that runs that site is Dan Shanka. I've heard him on the radio many times, and absolutely knows what he's talking about. So if they're saying it, I would do my best to try to make good on that advice that they're giving out too. You listen to SiriusXM, those guys, I listen to Charlie Weiss, Solomon Wilcots. Those guys have a lot of neat stories too, but they also give a lot of good advice too on players and what they may be seeing and everything like that. Also too, take advantage of resources around you. You may have somebody that's like a Steelers super fan that has all this inside information and stuff that you may be able to take advantage of. You'll know the people that are true fans and know what they're talking about, and the people that are just kind of speculating, and I wonder what this person. You can separate the clowns from the from the contenders very easily. So keep your ear to the ground for those kinds of conversations. And then when somebody brings something up, do your research, Google that stuff, and see if it is, in fact, as good as what they're saying. So just read, manage your team, and I hope that you guys can come out on top and bring home some of that money for us and bring home some trophies. I want to see that hardware from you guys. That's exciting for me. The play of the week this week, I'm going with the wide receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles, Travis Fulgham. Each of the last 3 weeks, Fulgham has found the end zone. Last week, he got 19.5 big PPR points against a Baltimore Ravens defense. And this week, too, he's got the potential smash spot against their Philadelphia Eagles taking on Thursday night, the New York Giants. And as we all know, that Giants secondary is sort of suspect, not as good as it could be. So take advantage if you've got him, or if you can go out. I feel like Travis Fulgham is a guy that should be rostered in every league. He has proven now over the course of 3 weeks that he has the synergy with Carson Wentz, and he's becoming that number one guy out there in Philadelphia. So take advantage of that if you can. If he's on waivers right now, snap that dude up and plug him into your lineup. I've got him in my lineup right now as my flex play, and so I'm looking very forward to seeing if he can find the end zone again for the 4th straight week. Also, too, look on your waiver wire. Don't discount the waiver wire. If there's people out there, watch the transactions that are happening. Sometimes people will make mistakes. In my league, somebody had dropped the Ravens defense. I don't know why you would do that. And then they picked up a much lesser defense, and then somebody was able, I was too slow, couldn't get them, but somebody was able to snap up, and now you've got a viable defense, for the rest of the year. You might not have drafted them, but you have, you're always looking. I was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. You're always looking to improve your fighting hole, right? And so that's what you're looking for on the waiver wire, even though it may seem to be picked clean. Maybe that there is a Travis Fulgham, a Chase Claypool out there. You never know. And I always go back, people that know me, I always go back to the year that Alvin Kamara came out. And that kid came out like he got shot out of a cannon. It was absolutely amazing. And so always be looking on the waiver wire for the next Alvin Kamara. This season, Chase Claypool, Travis Fulgham, there's something else. What I will caution you guys about is we got the news early this morning that Ryan Fitzpatrick will be benched in favor of Tua
Tagovailoa.
Yeah, Tagovailoa. Sorry, early in the morning. So what I would caution on is for Tua is let's see what he's going to do first. Not that he doesn't have the ability, I'm not saying that. Supremely talented, humble young man. I'm a fan. I really like him. Let's wait and see first. I'm always a little bit leery about the rookie quarterbacks. You just don't know how they're going to handle the transition to the NFL. You know, I always go back to, and I hope he doesn't catch the Nathan Peterman syndrome. Nathan Peterman was a quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, I believe, in 2018. He started a game against the Chargers, and in the first half, he threw 5 interceptions. And I know during that time, if you guys remember back, there was a big groundswell of Nathan Peterman. He was cutting promos, getting everybody hyped up, and he went out there and threw 5 big interceptions in the first half. And then the team subsequently in the second half brought in Tyrod Taylor and almost pulled that game out behind the arm of Tyrod. So let's not forget that. So let's hope that Tua doesn't catch any Nathan Peterman kind of stuff. But I would absolutely take a wait and see approach. I know a lot of people like to take quarterbacks and they're basically looking for the golden ticket to the chocolate factory. But, you know, everybody's looking for that lotto ticket to hit on. But with a quarterback, I would take a wait and see. The only way that I would take him is if I was absolutely desperate for a quarterback. Then it would be worth it to throw up that Hail Mary. But you don't know. You know, he's coming off a major injury, and he's healed and everything like that. But we just don't know. He hasn't played an NFL game yet. I would be very cautious before jumping on the Tua bandwagon. Hopefully over the long term, he's going to turn out to be one of those, I call them the household names around the NFL. Right now, you know names like, you know, you got Phillip Rivers, you got Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. There are people that you just expect to see out there. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, right? And I'm hoping that Tua will become one of those names in the future. But right now, if it were up to me, I would absolutely stand fast on him, watch the games, see how he looks, see how he moves around. Let's see what he does before we jump on that bandwagon. So now that we've come to the end of the show, I'd just like to take, this past week I went over 100 followers. I appreciate you guys that have found me. It's very neat to come on here and to talk fantasy football with you guys. It's just been an absolute pleasure to come here, and I like hearing the stories from you guys about how you're winning in your leagues, and it just makes me so happy, you know, to hear, you know, that, and I hope that the reason why that I came on here to do this is because I hope that if I threw out a nugget, just a little something that will help you push you over the top in your matchup this week, then I'm a little bit of part of your winning journey, and I really like those things a lot. So if you have you know, those issues, who should I pick up off of waivers? Should I trade this guy for this guy? Bring those questions to me. Let's talk about it. I give the trade advice. Just talk about topics. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, let me know, and I'll make a video about that too. But I appreciate your support. I appreciate the follows, the views on the videos, the likes. I appreciate all of it. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. And I wish you guys the best of luck in week 7. And hope you pull out the big victory and you're able to win those weekly awards and bring home some money into your household. So again, this is SD10CITY Fantasy Football. I'm Mark. We have Stella with us too, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Take care and have a wonderful week.